What is up? Welcome. Tonight, I'm not going to start with theory. I'm going to get right to it, and I'm going to start with a real deal, what you guys all came to figure out. How did I do a six-figure real estate wholesale deal, start to finish? How did I contract it? How did I find it? How did I find the buyer for it? Everything in between, as well as what you guys can do to get either your first, fifth, or 50th wholesale deal under contract. Whether you're looking to get your first one done or you're looking to scale, I've got everything A to Z that's going to show you exactly how to do that within this training. But first, getting to obviously what you guys all came here for. How did this deal work, right? What is the deal breakdown on how I was able to profit six figures on a mansion flip without having to pick up a hammer, without having to do the renovation, and without having to spend any of my own money to actually close this transaction, okay? First and foremost, the quick breakdown, right? This was a very unique deal. It was up in Conroe, and it was actually a lakefront property. So very unique in that we don't get a lot of, million-dollar mansions like this that need work that come through for, an investor basically, right? So the quick purchase price, $900,000 is what it was offered to us at. We saw the repairs being somewhere between $150,000 to $200,000 with an ARV of anywhere between 1.5 to 1.75 million. Okay, so again, when you're talking about these types of mansions and repairs and after repair values, it's generally going to be a range, and so you have to understand that kind of going into the deal, right? What we were ultimately able to sell the property for was $950. And I know some of you math gurus are out there like, wait, how does that make sense? You said you got it for $9, you sold it for $950. That's only $50. That's not $6. That's not. But obviously, we were able to get a renegotiation and get the property under contract for $850 and actually sell it for $950 through wholesaling it. Okay, so the deal took about 3 weeks, start to finish. Okay, and that's no cap. 3 weeks, start to finish, $100,000 profit. And here's the crazier part. Okay, we actually got that transaction, got that property sent to us from another wholesaler. Okay, so the wholesaler had it under contract. We had actually worked with this wholesaler before, so it was a little bit of a cheat, right? We'd closed deals with this particular wholesaler before. They knew we were going to wholesale it, and so they sent it to us at 900,000, and we sent it out at 950. We had gotten some interest. But long story short, we didn't have a committed buyer, okay, and our option period was expiring, and I did have to spend a little bit of money on this, right? Okay, so the only money I had to spend on this was the earnest money, okay? The earnest money I put down was $9,000, but because I had an option period, it wasn't at risk unless we continued through the option period, right? And for any of you guys that know about wholesaling, I'm generally not going to continue through with the option period until I have a deposit from our end buyer. Okay, the end buyer deposit is what supplements my deposit and makes me comfortable moving forward with the transaction, my earnest money. Okay, so a little bit of a white lie. I did have to spend $9,000 in earnest money to secure the property. Okay, but even if you don't have that $9,000, you can source that, right? There's tons of investors, gator lenders, they call them, who will, fund earnest money and things like that so that you can get into a transaction. They will charge you a little bit, but if you don't have the money for earnest money, for example, and you need to get into a deal like this and the numbers make sense, that is how you can still do it without using any of your money. But regardless, we're getting down to the end of our option period and we don't have a buyer locked in, okay? So at this point, I have to look at it from two ways. I have to be prepared to close on it if I'm going to continue past the option because I have $9,000 on the line. Okay, it's a $900,000 purchase price. I have $9,000 on the line, so I can continue through with the transaction. We have a little bit of time to close, and look to close on it myself. Look to still wholesale it, or hope one of these buyers pans out. That we had some interest, but nobody that had committed to putting up a deposit because we were asking for a $20,000 deposit. So nobody that committed to putting up the deposit and signing the agreement yet, okay? And our option period is ending. So we have a guy that seems like he's ready, the end buyer, but it's not a sure thing because he hasn't signed, he hasn't deposited, okay? And now I'm on crunch time with my option period. So I gamble a little bit, and basically I let my option period expire under the condition that we get a $50,000 reduction from the wholesaler. Okay, so that is the price that I felt confident at, that either I was going to close on it or we were going to get a buyer on. Even though we listed it for $950, the buyer that we had interested, okay, let's say, worst case scenario, he doesn't sign and he comes back in 25, 50K cheaper. Now it gives me the room to still make his offer work, right? And so it was a calculated risk that I did because we didn't have the buyer locked in at that point. And so I got the reduction from the wholesaler, and so now we're under contract for $850, but we had to get a buyer on. So we had two buyers that were interested, one that was more serious than the other. And fortunately, the very next day, that buyer ended up signing for the full $950. Okay, so again, got under contract for $850, have it sold to this buyer, the end buyer, for $950,000, and he's put down a $20,000 non-refundable deposit. So this guy's locked in, he's ready to go. The crazier part about that, well, not crazier, I'll say, but this is what's so cool about wholesaling is the original wholesaler still made $50,000. Okay, so they had their original contract. We come to find out they're under contract for $800,000. They contracted to us for $850, and we sell it for $950 to our end buyer. Okay, so about $150,000 in spread right there, just on that one deal, which is oh so cool. And there's a large spread there for the investor as well. But that is the quick breakdown on how I made 6 figures on one single wholesale deal. I usually do 1 to 2 of those types of large deals, 6-figure spread deals a year. And then I have other, more reasonable deals. Let's call them $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $30,000 to $50,000 fees are, I won't say every day, but you can get them every single month if you have the right systems, have the right team in place, and things like that. Okay, so with all that being said, who am I, right? Who is this guy that's telling me about these $100,000 deals? My name is Shaka Daniel. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. I'm a licensed broker, investor, landlord, wholesaler, flipper, etc. And over the last 9 years, going on 10, involved in over 500 real estate transactions. I co-own 15 rental doors currently, all here based in Houston or the immediately surrounding areas. I run an investment brokerage and a wholesale company that sells deals to investors on a weekly basis. So everything you're hearing inside this video isn't just theory, it's how deals are really happening today in the real world from an operator like myself, okay? So what does this mean for you, right? Great, you did a 6-figure deal, man, amazing, good for you, right? What does it mean for me? Now, what that means is you just have to understand the framework behind this real estate transaction, and you can do a deal just like this as well, okay? So step 1 is finding the property, right? Every real estate deal starts with actually finding a deal. Somebody that wants to sell a property, right? This can be an actual motivated seller, it can be a realtor, it can be another wholesaler, right? Just like in the example that we just did, where there's actually 2 wholesalers involved and they both still made a good chunk of money. The seller, I can talk about that as well in a different video, but the seller still got a great deal with everything considered, with the whole situation considered and what they needed out of their situation. They still get a great deal and the investor gets a great deal. So it's really a win-win for all parties involved. But those are just 3 types of sellers, right? The direct seller, the realtor, and wholesalers, who are a form of a direct seller, okay? Now, how do you reach them? There's so many different ways you can reach them. If you guys are familiar with inbound versus outbound marketing, those are the 2 main distinctions that go into finding a deal, right? How do I actually source a deal? And those are going to come to inbound versus outbound. Inbound is I'm running ads, I'm running social media ads, pay-per-click ads, things like that. And sellers are coming to me because they're searching for things where they want to sell their home to an investor like us, right? Outbound is things like cold calling, texting, direct mail, things like that, where you're doing something disruptive to get in front of a seller and hopefully generate leads that way, okay? So all of these deals are going to come from conversations, right? This 6-figure deal that we did, yes, it came from a track record, but it all started with a conversation. That conversation with the wholesaler put us in the right place to do deals in the past, right? We did a couple of deals leading up to this one. I think we had done 2 deals with this wholesaler prior. So they know our track record, they know we're reputable, they know we're professional, they know what we're able to accomplish and what value we bring to them, right? And that's what enabled us to do this 3rd deal together, right?
If you want to see more content like this, join the Profit Pros Real Estate Investing and Wholesaling community. Click the link below. Has all the information, scripts, live calls, paperwork, contracts, agreements, everything I use in my 7-figure a year wholesaling business based right here in Houston, Texas. Click the link below. Let's get it.